I thought it was a joke when her mom asked for $10,000, until my fiancé said, "It's only fair," turning love into a transaction, demanding tribute for raising her, and expecting me to finance approval like a doormat groom funding their entitled fantasy. I thought I knew Claire. 4 years together, engaged, wedding in 3 weeks, the kind of steady, ordinary happiness you don't question. We weren't glamorous, but we fit. I'm a 30-year-old civil engineer who still packs leftovers for lunch. She's 26, a second-grade teacher who cries at Pixar movies. We had our quirks, sure, but I believed we were solid, until that Sunday dinner at her parents' house. Her mom, Sharon, had always been a character. The kind who called herself old-fashioned right before saying something transactional. She'd joke about return on investment when talking about Claire's education. I thought it was dark humor. Turns out it was accounting. After dessert, Sharon reached into her purse and slid a cream-colored envelope toward me. "Just a little formality before the wedding," she said, smiling like she was handing me directions. Inside was an invoice titled, "Parental Reimbursement, Raising Claire, 1999 to 2021. Housing, $2,400. Food, $1,800. Private school, $1,200. Dance lessons and hobbies, $2,600. Emotional investment, $1,000. Total due, $9,000. I laughed too loudly. Waited for someone to say it was a joke. No one did. Sharon's smile didn't even flicker. Claire just stared at me and said softly, "It's only fair, babe." That was the exact second I realized. I wasn't marrying into a family. I was buying into a franchise. For a moment after Sharon said, "No payment, no wedding," I thought I'd misheard. The room was so still I could hear the clock ticking above their mantel. Claire sat there. Chin lifted like this was a reasonable conversation, not a shakedown over dinner. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You expect me to pay your parents 10 grand because they raised you?" "It's not about money," Claire said, her tone clipped, rehearsed. "It's about respect. They worked hard to make me who I am. You're joining the family, so you should contribute. Think of it as symbolic." "Symbolic," I repeated. "There's a dollar amount written on it." Her father, a quiet man named Don, hadn't looked up once. He just kept turning his fork in his hand like he wanted to be anywhere else. Sharon, though, was radiant, triumphant even. "You wouldn't blink at paying for a house or a car," she said. "Why is my daughter's upbringing worth less?" That was the moment the air left my lungs. This wasn't a test or a joke. They'd actually turned Claire into an investment product. I stood up. "You're right," I said evenly. "Let me grab my checkbook from the car." Claire's face softened, relieved. "See? I told you he'd understand." I smiled, just enough to be polite, and walked out the front door. Then I got in my car, drove home, and didn't look back. That night, I sat on my couch with the engagement ring still on the coffee table. I'd spent months planning that wedding, mapping out every expense like an engineer would. The venue, the food, the string quartet Claire insisted on. Now all of it felt like evidence. I texted my best friend. "Nick, me wedding's off." "Nick, you serious?" "Me, her mom handed me a bill for raising her." Claire agreed. "Nick, Jesus." "Me, bar tonight?" "Nick, hell yes." By midnight, we were 2 beers deep, half laughing, half processing. Nick kept shaking his head. "You dodged a bullet, man. That's not a wife. That's a merger agreement." The next morning, I went into full logistics mode. Grief through efficiency. First call, the venue. Riverside Manor, 2-year waiting list, $8,000 deposit. They confirmed cancellation. I get 50% back, for $1,000 saved. Then the photographer canceled, full refund. DJ, non-refundable, but he texted, "Dude, heard what happened. Keep the deposit, no hard feelings." Florist, cake, caterer all gone by noon. The cake I redirected to a nearby nursing home. Figured someone should get some joy out of it. By the afternoon, I deleted our shared wedding spreadsheet and started boxing her things. Makeup bag, planner, the half-finished scrapbook she'd been assembling since we got engaged. When I texted her, it was short and clean. You and your mom turned love into an invoice. Everything's canceled. Your stuff's on your porch. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Then finally, Claire, you're overreacting. It was just a conversation. I didn't reply. By evening, the damage control had begun. Not by me, of course. Sharon took to Facebook like a PR manager in crisis. A long post about disrespectful men who don't value family tradition. My name wasn't mentioned, but the subtext was neon bright. Her friends commented things like, "So ungrateful," and "You raised her too well for that nonsense." Claire texted again that night. "Claire, I told Mom you didn't mean to storm out. We can talk when you've cooled off." There's nothing to talk about. I'm not negotiating a dowry in 2025. No response. The following day, I stopped by the jeweler to return the ring. Store credit only, but it was fine. I used part of it to buy myself a watch. Something solid, quiet, permanent. By the weekend, I'd heard through a mutual friend that Sharon was calling it the engagement that collapsed over a misunderstanding. Claire, apparently, was heartbroken but strong. Nick called me that Sunday. "You okay?" "Better than I should be," I said. "It's like I found out the house had termites before moving in." "Man," he laughed softly. "That's one expensive pest inspection." I thought about that for a while after we hung up, how sometimes you don't escape disaster by being brave, but by simply standing up, walking to your car, and not coming back inside. At least now, I knew the price tag of love in that household. Exactly $9,000. And the receipt had my name on it. By Monday morning, my phone looked like a slot machine stuck on jackpot mode. Constant buzzing, flashing, vibrating. 68 missed calls. 112 unread texts. 27 voicemails. I scrolled through them at my desk like I was watching a train wreck in real time. Claire's messages were a carousel of panic. "Claire, please, we can talk." "Claire, it wasn't supposed to come out like that." "Claire, Mom just wanted a gesture." "Claire, you embarrassed us." Then Sharon's. "Sharon, a real man doesn't whine about money." "Sharon, we can arrange a payment plan if it's easier on you financially." "Sharon, you humiliated my family. There will be consequences." And, finally, a text from Don, her dad, the first I'd ever received from him. "Don, let's handle this man to man." Man to man. Translation: come back, apologize, and pay up so my wife stops screaming at me. I turned my phone face down, took a deep breath, and tried to focus on work. Didn't last long. At 2:17 p.m., my receptionist buzzed me. There's a woman here asking for you. Says her name is Sharon Miller." My stomach dropped. "Do not let her in." Too late. Through the frosted glass, I saw her storming past the front desk like she owned the place. A 5'2" hurricane in pearls and righteous fury. My coworkers froze. "Where is he?" she snapped, scanning the office. Then she spotted me. "You!" She marched straight to my desk, waving her phone. "You think you can humiliate my daughter, cancel everything, and walk away like some coward?" "Mrs. Miller," I said evenly, "this is my workplace. You need to leave. You're not a man, you're a calculator with legs. You owe my family for everything we've done for you. I don't owe you a cent. Please leave before I call security." She scoffed. "Call them. Let everyone see what kind of ungrateful parasite you are." They did see, every single person in that office. Within a minute, our head of security appeared, firm but polite, escorting her out while she shouted, "You'll regret this. You'll regret every penny you didn't pay." The second the door closed, the entire floor went silent. Then one of my coworkers, Dennis, said under his breath, "So, are you taking applications for next Fiancée?" Laughter rippled through the office. I appreciated the effort. That evening, I went to Nick's apartment. We opened beers, ordered pizza, and set my phone on the table like a museum exhibit of poor life choices. "Bro," Nick said, scrolling through the texts. "Did she really invoice you for her upbringing?" "Itemized," I said, Even emotional investments. Let me guess. Payment due before the wedding? Bingo. He shook his head, laughing. You didn't dodge a bullet. You dodged a lifetime subscription to hell. I laughed too, but it felt hollow. Part of me still couldn't believe it was real, that someone I'd loved for 4 years thought love came with a receipt. Then the Ring notification popped up on my phone. Motion detected at my apartment door. I tapped the feed. Claire and her sister stood outside, pounding on the door, yelling through the intercom. Claire's makeup was smudged, her voice shaking between sobs and fury. Open the door, James. You can't just ghost me. We're supposed to be getting married. Her sister chimed in. You're heartless. She's crying her eyes out and you're hiding. Nick leaned over my shoulder, watching the live feed like a movie. Man, this is wild. What's she holding? I zoomed in. Flowers. The same bouquet I'd given her on our engagement day. She threw it at the door. Then came the shouting. Mom's right. You're pathetic. You could have had a real family, but you're too cheap to be a man. Nick muttered. Wow, that's performance art. We watched until they finally left, both of them storming off like furious bridesmaids. I poured another beer. You know, the sad part is I wasn't even angry until now. Nick raised an eyebrow. Now? Yeah, I said, staring at the screen. Now it feels like they think I'm the villain for not paying ransom for love. The next day, the digital war began. Sharon posted a Facebook essay titled, When Good Men Fail Their Promises. It was 3 paragraphs of creative fiction about how I abandoned Claire days before the wedding after financial disagreements. The word invoice was notably absent. Her friends flooded the comments. Some men just can't handle strong women. So sorry for Claire. You raised her right. Dodged a bullet, girl. Imagine being married to someone so petty, for refusing to pay for an adult woman's childhood. Claire sent one more text that night. Claire, I didn't want it to be like this. You made me choose between you and my family. Me, you didn't have to choose. They did. No reply. On Wednesday, my company's HR manager pulled me aside. Just so you know, a woman named Sharon Miller called this morning asking if we employ men with integrity. We hung up on her. But maybe change your number. Yeah, I said, half smiling. Already working on it. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, the space echoing with absence, and realized how quiet peace could feel once you stopped trying to earn love through negotiation. Because in their world, affection had a price, and I'd finally stopped paying. By midweek, the situation had escalated into something resembling a low-budget reality show, and I was, unwillingly, the lead. Claire had apparently called the venue, Riverside Manor, crying, pleading for a reversal. The receptionist's polite response? I'm sorry, sir. Your date has already been rebooked. Enjoy your new couple. I didn't laugh. Not yet. Then came the email from Sharon, supposedly from a lawyer she'd consulted. The subject line read, Breach of verbal contract, emotional damages. I opened it slowly, half expecting the document to self-destruct like something out of a spy movie. Paragraphs of legalese, all capitalization and threats. You have caused irreparable harm to our family unit. We demand compensation. I called Sam, my buddy and a real attorney. Within 30 seconds, he was laughing so hard he nearly dropped his coffee. James, he said, shaking his head. This isn't legal. This is fanfiction. Emotional damages for refusing to buy your fiancé's childhood? Tell her she can't bill you for hugs and piano lessons. The email was promptly filed into my fiction folder. Of course, Sharon wasn't finished. She went nuclear on social media. First, a Facebook post. Modern men don't appreciate the sacrifices parents make. We only asked for fairness. A man should respect the investments made in his future wife. Comments flooded in. Most were skeptical. Some were brutal. One, immortalized in my screenshot folder forever, read, You tried to sell your daughter and got mad when no one bought. Iconic. Twitter picked it up. Within hours, the story had migrated to a thread titled, Bride's Family Tries to Invoice Groom. Internet reacts. Hashtags like hashtag invoice for love and hashtag parental extortion started trending. I watched in awe. People were dissecting line items. Emotional investment? How do you quantify that? Then came Claire. Texts filled my phone in rapid succession. Claire, Mom went too far. Let's fix this. Me, you didn't stop her. That's the problem. Claire, it was just a test. To see if you were serious. I set my phone down, laughed quietly, and shook my head. A test? You nearly made me write a check for $9,000 for a person I loved. Only to call it a test? Me, then I'm glad I failed. She went silent after that. For the first time in a week, I felt a strange relief. The chaos had peaked, the smoke cleared, and all that remained was the absurdity of it. Sharon didn't stop, though. She tried messaging mutual friends, painting me as a villain. I screenshot everything. Every post, every DM, every overblown justification. If this was a war, I was documenting the battlefield. Meanwhile, Claire's sister tried her own intervention. Texts dripping with guilt. You're destroying the family. Think about what you're doing to your fiancé. I didn't respond. Silence, in this case, was tactical. The next morning, the internet delivered poetic justice. Strangers, armed only with screenshots and sarcasm, shredded Sharon's posts. Threads titled "The Groom Who Refused to Pay for Love" exploded. People were mocking the line items, calculating cost per hug, debating the ROI on piano recitals. Memes appeared. Sharon handing me an invoice with a scowl, Claire clapping politely, and me, calm as a monk, sliding the checkbook back into my pocket. Even Nick got in on it. Dude, the universe just verified your moral compass. That was hilarious. I smirked. Hilarious, yes. Vindicating, even more so. And for the first time, the absurdity of the situation settled in. I hadn't just survived a personal attack. I'd witnessed the public implosion of entitlement. Sharon's credibility cratered. Claire was quiet. The internet had spoken, and in the echo I found something like peace. For all their planning, for all their insistence on invoices and ultimatums, they'd forgotten one thing. I wasn't afraid to walk away, and walking away had never felt so satisfying. By Thursday, Sharon had officially lost her mind. She went full nuclear, like someone in a bad soap opera with unlimited energy and zero self-awareness. She called my parents, left frantic voicemails accusing me of failing to honor our family agreement. She emailed my boss, claiming I'd abandoned responsibilities, and that my professional integrity was now in question. My coworkers started asking questions, which I answered with a calm, family drama. I'm fine. Then came the ultimate escalation. Sharon tried to reclaim the wedding date at Riverside Manor. She sent out new invitations, same venue, new date, pretending nothing had happened. My inbox exploded with RSVPs and questions. Are you two okay? Did you reconcile? I spent half an hour crafting a mass text to stop the flood. Me, there is no wedding. Everything is fake. Do not ask again. Claire called later that evening, voice shaking. I didn't know. Moms, she's completely lost it. I can't control her. I let her talk, mostly silent. There was pity in my heart, but also clarity. I had no intention of rejoining this circus. Don, her father, finally spoke up. I'm sorry for all this. I'll handle it. His apology felt sincere, but the chaos had already metastasized beyond control. I knew there was only one thing left to do: legal action. I filed for a restraining order against Sharon, citing harassment, threats, and unauthorized intrusion into my professional and personal life. The hearing was surreal. Sharon arrived in full mother of the bride regalia. Pastel dress, matching hat, pearls, clutch in hand, a copy of the infamous invoice waving like a victory banner. She scanned the courtroom, eyeing me like I'd stolen the sun. The judge tilted his head, holding back both amusement and disbelief. Ma'am, did you seriously charge this man for raising your daughter? Sharon, unwavering, held her chin high. Parents deserve compensation. It's only fair. He's marrying our daughter. He must understand the value of investment. The judge blinked, scribbled in his notes, then looked back up. "Sir, based on the evidence and testimony, I am granting a 1-year restraining order against Ms. Miller. No contact with you, your family, or your workplace. She is to remain at least 100 yards away at all times." Sharon's face went red. She screamed, flailing her arms, the invoice still clutched in her trembling hands. Security stepped forward, gently escorting her out. I didn't watch, couldn't. I just heard the faint echo of her fury fading down the hall. As I sat in the empty courtroom, the finality of it all sank in. No wedding, no negotiation, no reconciliation, just peace enforced by law. It was in that moment I understood something crucial. Marrying Claire hadn't just meant marrying her. It had meant marrying her mother, her rules, her calculations, her entitlement. Forever. And for all her charm, Claire's complicity had been the iceberg under the water. I walked out, quiet but resolute. The city was calm outside, the autumn wind moving leaves in spirals across the courthouse steps. For the first time in weeks, I felt a kind of relief I didn't expect. Because the collapse hadn't been tragic. It had been liberating. And in the silence, I finally realized, some battles aren't about winning hearts. They're about keeping your own intact. The invoice would never define me. The threats would never define me. The chaos had ended, and I was left with something far more valuable. Clarity, calm, and the knowledge that I could finally breathe without guilt or manipulation hanging over me. Marrying Claire? That chapter was closed. Marrying her mother? Never an option. A month later, the world felt quieter, almost surreal. The phone stopped buzzing. Emails about family emergencies and urgent reconciliations had stopped. The inbox was serene. I finally breathed. I returned the engagement ring, not for a refund but for closure. With the store credit, I bought myself a watch, silver, understated, solid. Something that reminded me freedom could look elegant. I started therapy partly out of curiosity, partly necessity. Sitting there on the plush couch, I replayed all the little comments that now seemed like warning shots. Claire's jokes about love being an investment. The subtle comparisons to richer guys. The casual remarks about choosing someone who can provide. Pieces that only made sense in retrospect. She hadn't just been selfish. She had been conditioned to treat affection as a commodity. Every smile, every hug, every moment assigned a dollar value. Then came the social fallout. A mutual friend sent screenshots. Claire was telling people I had left because her family wasn't rich enough. "James is a gold digger," they said, laughing at a life that never existed. I stared at the messages, realizing the absurdity. She didn't just misrepresent the story. She had weaponized it, projecting entitlement onto me as if I had failed some invisible audit. I didn't reply. Silence was cleaner than confrontation. Her father, Don, surprised me. One evening, a single text appeared. "We failed as parents. You did the right thing." I read it twice, feeling the weight lift a little more. No response was necessary. Recognition from him was enough. A quiet acknowledgement that I had acted with integrity when everyone else demanded a signature on their demands. Nick, ever the comic relief in my life, dropped by a week later with a gift. A t-shirt that read, "Freedom Night 2024, depicting a cartoon groom sprinting from the altar. I laughed so hard I almost cried. I hung it in my closet, not as a joke, but as a talisman. A reminder of survival, clarity, and choice. Sitting in my apartment, I thought about that cake I'd redirected to the nursing home, about the venue deposits returned, the chaos left behind. Every bit of it reminded me, when someone hands you a bill for love, you run. Run before affection becomes a ledger, before loyalty becomes a financial obligation, before compromise becomes exploitation. The peace I felt wasn't loud or dramatic. It wasn't a social media post or a declaration to friends. It was quiet, measured, and complete. My life was mine again. My happiness wasn't negotiated over invoices or ultimatums. The lesson, clear as a silver watch glinting in the sunlight. Better to let a nursing home enjoy the cake than let your life become someone else's payment plan. Freedom, it turns out, is priceless, and this time I wasn't paying for it.